Okay, let's get into it. So, I went viral. How cool is that? No, I never thought I'd be making a video that was like, dramatic face on YouTube. I went viral, but like I did. So there's no catch here, but the magic weapon, the magic secret, what am I trying to say? The secret weapon is Reels. You guys, if you are not on Reels yet, get on Reels. But that's what this video is all about. We are talking about how exactly I went viral. We are talking about all of my top tips on using Reels as we have significantly ramped up all of my investment of time into creating Reels to really expand your reach and grow your Instagram. So let's dive into it. Hello, and if you don't know who I am or you are new to this channel here, my name is Kolbye and I am a business coach for service-based entrepreneurs, helping them create a personal brand on social media, sell out their services, build their dream business, and build a freedom lifestyle. I travel around the world full time, so on this channel you're going to find a lot of things: entrepreneurship, marketing, how to build a business, and digital nomad lifestyle stuff. So today we are talking about how I went viral, went over 100,000 views, like literally like this, on one of my Reels. And we're going to be talking about some of my top tips for you to start creating Reels and getting a mass exposure and visibility, because like hashtags, they just ain't doing it anymore. Okay, so Reels, let's get into the nitty gritty here. So before I go over a couple specific tips, here's the thing. I resisted Reels at first. I was like, okay, another thing that we have to create. But then I hopped on the bandwagon, and now they're actually kind of fun. You just have to kind of give yourself some space and time to create them. But here's why Reels are so powerful. They are like a visibility machine. So even if you have 1,000 followers, 5,000 followers, which is a great amount of followers, don't get me wrong, but you know, we're not talking in the millions here, you can reach so many people because Reels are not just shown to your followers, and because they're a newer or the newest feature on Instagram, Instagram is pushing them very, very hard. So if you can't fight it, hop on the train. That's definitely not the phrase, but we're gonna go with it. So here's an example of this. So my account, as you can see here, at the time we're recording this, I'm about 10,000 followers, right? That's great. Not super crazy, but obviously a great amount. Now, if you look at some of my classic posts, you can see that my average reach just on a normal post with hashtags, all that jazz, is like 2.4, 2.5 thousand. So not too bad, right? But the average reach on my Reels, which we obviously don't have analytics for Reels yet, wink wink Instagram, but my average reach on my Reels is about 4,000. You guys, that's literally double. Okay, and I'm not even, you know, doing anything crazy. We're just choosing to create Reels almost instead of a post half the time, because it also shows up in your feed, right? So it's like best of both worlds. And at this point, Reels have been around for a little while, so they're here to stay. So it's really a strategy that I'm encouraging a lot of my clients and want to encourage you guys to figure out how to incorporate into your business. Now, this video here, we're not going to be walking through tutorials as far as how to do all the fancy transitions. If you would like a video like that, comment below and let me know, and I'm happy to do one. But this one is talking a little bit more about the strategy of Reels and really how to create them, how to come up with ideas, and how to make sure you're getting max visibility. Okay, so tip number one with Reels, we're just gonna like jump right into it. How do you come up with ideas for Reels? Especially if you're someone who's like, maybe I'm not the most creative. So here's what I do. I am now always scrolling on Reels anyways, or TikTok, both of them, and we'll talk about kind of the difference in a minute, but I'm always scrolling. So whether you're already naturally doing this, we're gonna add intention to it, and if not, I do recommend you spend some time, because we kind of need to see what are the trends happening right now. You need to almost put yourself, like immerse yourself in the different musics and sounds for you to have an idea spark, right? Because it's this combination with Reels of the music and these quick little witty ways to apply the trends to your industry. That's really what we're looking at, especially as a business owner. So my very simple content ideation and process for creating Reels is I scroll, and I'm doing this, you know, almost every day probably. And what I do is I save the Reels that I see that I'm like, ooh, you know what? I think I kind of like that sound. I like that music. I'm not maybe sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but let's save it. So then when I sit down to batch all of my content for the month, I sit down and specifically look at all of my saved Reels, and I will spend a separate amount of time to sit there, brainstorm, listening back to the sounds. I might even like click on the audio and see what other people have done execution wise with it. And then I will come up with, hey, okay, how can I, again, use this trend or use this music for something in my industry. I may even consider, what am I selling right now? For example, my signature group program is Laptop Lifestyle Bootcamp, shameless plug, and it's for newer entrepreneurs. So when I was just in launch mode, as you'll see over here, I actually took a bunch of trends, and I could have probably come up with like 3 different ideas for each music set, but I specifically chose ideas that were relevant to new entrepreneurs, like this one here, and like this one here. Oh my God.
I cannot.
So as you can see, they're all in the context of business, but they were also in the context of what I was selling. So that's just like a little extra there. So then what I do is I literally write out what was the inspiration of the like music or other reels that I saw for this. 3 things here. The second thing that I write out is what is like the text that's going to be on screen or the shot list, so that when I actually sit down to record, I know exactly what I'm doing. The third thing that I write down is the caption. So again, like all of the thought work is done. Now I just need to create it and put it all together. So then once I have all my reels planned out for the month, I batch record them. That way we only have to put on makeup one day. You've got all the outfits going, and it'll probably take me a whole afternoon to batch record all these different reels. Then I sit down with like a little treat of a drink of something, maybe a nice little coffee, and I go ahead and I string them all together. I use an app called InShot to actually edit them because I just find it a little bit easier. And then I add all the text and I save them in my drafts with the caption. So this is really your first tip, is don't overcomplicate it, but in order to get ideas, 1, look at the process that I just described, and 2, definitely you want to be in the know. You want to be involved in seeing what other people are utilizing and what trends are happening right now, which leads me to point number 2, which is one of the things with Reels is really having things be trendy, right? So there's different songs that'll go around and different like bits of music and things like that. There's obviously dances too if you're more like on TikTok, but you know, in the business realm at least, it's not quite as many dances. But we want to figure out what is on trend right now and how can I take advantage of being a part of that trend. I myself, when I take advantage of sounds that are trending, definitely see my reels perform better. Now, a good example of this is take an idea, just like we were talking about, take an idea, and let's say I saw someone who's a fitness coach, who is, you know, not something that I do, not the fitness industry, and they are, you know, talking about a different reel about all the misconceptions of things that you don't need, like all these different types of diets, blah, 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 right? So I'm going to take that same sound and I'm going to say, okay, how can I apply it to marketing, a sales, business, like anything like entrepreneur life? And I'm going to create my version of what that is. And I still get to use the trending sound. Another tip going off of this is to look at TikTok. So TikTok is where things seem to happen first. And then maybe like a week or 2 weeks later, they kind of start coming over to Instagram. So if you want to almost stay like ahead of the trends, I would start scrolling on TikTok and actually start saving videos that you're liking there and different trends you're seeing there, and use that for your inspiration to kind of stay ahead of the curve. Another thing that I've actually started using recently is a site called talkboard.com, which we'll link in the comments below and show you right here. And this is where you can scroll and see the top trending music on TikTok. Okay, my next tip for you guys in order to quote unquote go viral is stop overanalyzing trying to create a viral reel. That was never anything that we did. We were like, hey, let's start just testing out different ideas, different trends, different things, and see what works, see what starts to get the most visibility. And so after we did a bunch of that testing, one of the things that really impacts the reach of all of your reels, even not just, you know, the ones that we've seen on my account really take off, is consistency. And it's really a key to a lot of different types of content on any platform, but with reels, we're really seeing it have an impact. So it's actually raised almost the minimum amount of reach that we keep getting on all of our reels, as well as getting our other ones more exposure. So in the past month, we've been posting pretty consistently about 3 reels per week. And we've had about, on average, most of our reels are getting, you know, maybe like 4,000 views, but then at least almost once a week on average, we're having one, you know, go quite a lot higher, over like 20,000, 100,000, something like that. Now, when I was posting reels earlier in the year, I was only posting, you know, very sporadically, like 2 or 3 per month, and they were performing a lot less well. a lot less well. I had to think about how to phrase that. So my tip for you is post consistently. I think posting about twice a week is a really good, very doable and consistent. That's only 8 per month. And if you can batch all of those in an afternoon, that's really great. Another little like side tip off of that is because you're sharing the reels, not only of course on reels, but you can share them in your feed, which I do highly recommend doing. I really recommend making sure that the caption that you're attaching to your reels is like a quality caption. What we've started doing in order to balance and just be smart about our content creation is replace some of the feed posts that we were creating with reels. So I'm not creating like 5 different feed posts every week and 3 different reels every single week. We just started replacing them and they show up in our feed as well. However, I think that really is an important thing is that as business owners, as much as we want to create some reels that can absolutely just be for fun and, you know, to hop on some of the trends, you still want to think about, okay, how am I using this for business, right? How am I using this for sales? How am I captivating people into my world and bringing them back and ideally hoping to get not only the visibility, but bring them back to become followers and then become clients, right? So how do you use reels for sales? Well, a couple things. One that's really important is what I just mentioned, right? Make sure that we're attaching those really quality in-depth captions to your reels so that if someone likes it, they're, you know, clicking, they're reading, or they're seeing it on your feed, right? But the second thing is if you're just scrolling through reels, you aren't probably reading every single caption unless you're prompted to. So don't underestimate the power of a call to action. We talk about it all the time within content, but they're really important in reels too. So on the actual text on your screen, as you can see here, you might add a call to action at the very end of your reel that says read the caption. So I recommend having one of 2 calls to actions almost always, which is follow at Amanda Kolbye for more tips about blank, right? Or read the caption, and then they can click down into that and get more value from there, or they can be led from the caption somewhere else. So this is really how you almost want to like suck people into your world and be able to provide more information since reels are very quick. Another tip for you is to keep the text within the square, right? So this is what the reels size looks like here, right? Of course, when you're scrolling on reels, but like we were just saying, you want to share these in your feed. So people aren't always viewing these on reels. So when they're viewing it in your feed, it looks like this. And we want to make sure to try to keep the text inside of the square there so that you're kind of intriguing people to go ahead and click on it and continue watching. Okay, 2 last tips for you guys to really help you utilize reels. One of them is probably the biggest mistake that I see people making that I also personally get really annoyed at. And that is putting way too much text on like a 10-second video. People cannot realistically actually digest that information when you give them 1 second to read an entire paragraph that, you know, switches on the reel. So here's the thing, reels are meant to be a certain type of content. They're quick, they're witty, so make them that way. The biggest mistake that I see people making is they try and write like an entire paragraph and it disappears within 1 second. And so most of the time I just skip it because I don't have enough patience to keep reading all of these paragraphs because that's not how the content was intended to be used. So people are not used to pausing and reading 50 million things that way, right? They're used to digesting quick, witty, and if they want to explore more, they're going to read the caption or go somewhere else, right? So get people's attention fast. The first like 2 seconds are going to determine if someone actually continues watching that. So don't bury the lead, hook them in right away. Okay, and my last tip for you guys, especially for all y'all watching that are entrepreneurs and business owners trying to sell our services, right? Trying to sell our products, courses, whatever they may be, is use reels and plan reels as much as you can in conjunction with the rest of your content. So I could talk all day long and I have lots of other like videos and content all about planning your Instagram and your podcast and your YouTube content strategically. And I recommend doing that with reels as well. I think that with reels, because there's definitely some like trendy and fun and, you know, dances and stuff like that that aren't always going to be salesy, for sure. Do some of those. But I'd say about 80% of your reels, really try to make them niche, make them targeted towards your ideal client, make them relevant to your industry, and add in those sales aspects. So like I was saying before, at the time of filming this, I just wrapped up a Laptop Lifestyle Bootcamp launch, which is my signature group coaching program, and it's for newer entrepreneurs. So as I mentioned earlier in this video, as I was planning the reels for this entire month where we're kind of focusing on LLB, I chose for all of my reels to be in the context not only of business owners, but of new entrepreneurs. So I talked about the struggles of like when you first start your business and you're Googling and DIYing everything, right? I talked about overwhelm and not feeling confident. So I made all of these different reels with trends and songs that could have been made into anything, but I made them to really captivate the people that I'm speaking to. And that really helps you make sure that you're also being very timely with the reels that are popping up, that they're attracting the people based on what you're selling, or you're focusing on content. So with all that being said, I think it's one thing to talk about the strategy and give you all these tips. I think it's another thing to see it in action. So I think that boiling down reels to 3 main types of content is the most helpful and simplified way to look at reels. And I want to show you guys a couple examples of each of these 3 types of content. So the first one is educational, and you can see some of the examples here. A lot of these for business owners, they might seem a little bit boring. I definitely resisted the whole like pointing thing at first, but they're informational. They get the job done, and people do watch them. They are helpful, right? So again, I think with these, just be wary that we are not putting the paragraphs of text there and make them quick, right? So that's the first type of reel. The second type of reel is the very trendy ones and very relatable ones. Things that make people say, oh my gosh, yes, she so gets me. And this is the type of category of content of which I find goes viral or gets shared the most. And this was my reel that got over 100,000 views. It was one of those that just made everyone in my industry, in my niche, my ideal client say, oh my gosh, she's in my head, right? It's very relatable, and the sound was also really trendy. So these are a couple examples of those types of reels. And the last type of reels is inspirational. So I think that inspirational ones, depending on, what industry you're in, are also a really great way to be able to connect with people, inspire people, to want to work with you, to better, to go to the next level of whether that means business, fitness, like whatever it is that you are in your industry. So here's a couple examples of some inspirational reels that I have created, and I think these are also really impactful, and I think that they go well with a lot of the different trending like musics and sounds that are going around. If you guys are super excited to go create some reels, definitely start to take some inspiration, have fun with it. I think that's my biggest tip with reels is have some fun. It's a different type of content, and as entrepreneurs running your business on social media, you definitely have to pick and choose where you put your energy, but you also have to remember that you have to adapt. Social media is forever and always going to evolve and change every single year. Some years are going to be bigger changes than others, but you do have to adapt because this is the way that you're choosing to use your business. So don't resist, really lean into reels. They're such a great way to gain exposure and visibility. And I've got a last bonus tip for my digital nomads out there, or my entrepreneurs that are living in some countries where I definitely know there have been restrictions on reels, or people have definitely expressed to me that they lose their reels or they're having trouble with them. So while I cannot guarantee that this is going to work always, this is something that a couple of my clients have done where they have just had access to TikTok instead of Instagram Reels. They'll make all of their reels on TikTok, right? And you can just double post in there, but they'll make them on TikTok, and then they will download it with an app called Save Talk, which can remove the watermark. And then if you have a friend or a VA or a team member in a country that does have access to Reels, you can have them log into your Instagram account. It may take a couple of days for the account to like register that you're now in, let's say like America or somewhere else. And then you can have that team member ideally upload it to your account. Now again, I can't promise that this works every time, but it has worked for some of my clients. So for those of you out there, hopefully that will work for you, and I figured I would spread the word for all my digital nomads out there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you took a bunch of notes. Definitely tune in to some of my other videos all over here about entrepreneurship, marketing, building your online business, and digital nomad lifestyle. And I will see you guys next week. And while you're here about to dive into this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like, as that helps us be able to share this video and keep creating content for you guys.